I would say, I mean, it's not necessarily impressive, but it's impressive. And the reason I say it's not impressive because I kind of expected him to knock Russ off from game 1, 2, 3, and therefore on. This is basically, the first 2 games is basically his preseason. But you could tell in the last game against the Titans, there were certain things that he did that you go, okay, kind of, you know, if they just did this, 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 and this. Now, last night, he looked like vintage Aaron Rodgers to me. I mean, you know, coming off an Achilles, 40 years old, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, I'm going, okay, all right, this is pretty impressive. I don't know another quarterback that has come off an Achilles that I can remember. I'm not talking about Dan, because I don't remember Dan Marino coming off his Achilles. I was 7 years old. I couldn't tell you anything about football like that. Kirk Cousins looked pretty good in game 2. Didn't play at all in the preseason. Rusty in week 1. And now you look at Aaron Rodgers. Didn't play at all in the preseason. Rusty in week 1, better in 2, obviously better in 3. So 27 to 35, 281, 2 touchdowns, sacked twice, not his fault, but he did get out of harm's way a couple times to deliver the football. So, yeah, I'm impressed, but didn't really need to. I just need to see the 3rd game.
I needed to see it. As I say all the time, I do not walk by faith. I walk by sight. I need to see it to believe it. We haven't seen him play football in a very long time. Yeah. He is 40 years old, going into 41. Achilles is a very hard thing to come back from. I was completely impressed with what he looked like. Not that I didn't expect him to have a game like this at some point in the season, but the first 2 games, you saw a thing, a throw there that looked like Aaron Rodgers, a moment of poise that looked like Aaron Rodgers, but they hadn't put it together as a team in totality, and he didn't look like fully himself yet. I'm with Key on, okay, maybe the first 2 games are preseason, even though they do count, Paul. Those numbers count.
Those count.
The wins, losses
Those count.
But if he was going to treat it like preseason and this is his first real game, then he showed up looking like the Jets want him to look. And he didn't look like just a guy. He looked like Aaron Rodgers. Maybe not MVP Aaron Rodgers. We don't need to spiral all down it, but that was a...
You mentioned it.
It's game 3. Well, I don't think we know who MVP is yet anywhere around the league. Let's give it some time before we get into that. But I was impressed. I think Jets fans should feel great about it. Everyone in the organization should feel great about it. Aaron Rodgers should feel great about it. His teammates should feel great about it because you saw not only a complete game from the Jets yesterday, but Aaron Rodgers looking poised, making the right throws, making vintage Aaron Rodgers throws. But most importantly to me was him moving around.
Yeah.
Because that was my question. Everyone was saying, oh, like he doesn't need it. He can just stay in the pocket. He doesn't need to move around. Since when? That's a part of his game, and he's going to have to leave the pocket sometimes. How quick is he going to look? How stable is he going to look? Is he going to be afraid of being hit? He looked great last night. Everyone's got to feel good about that performance, and I personally was impressed because I didn't know when we were going to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was impressed for the simple fact of all those reasons you said, Joy and Key. He's 40 years old, and when you play a team like the Patriots, who, before the season I didn't really have high expectations for, and the expectations for the Jets was, like Key said, when you bring Aaron Rodgers over there, it's Super Bowl. So if they have any chances of getting to the Super Bowl, he has to look like this. And so when you see him, you go out there and you see him getting out of the pocket, making plays, doing all the Aaron Rodgers stuff. And then you say, okay, it's against the Patriots. Why wasn't he able to do this the first 2 games? Yeah, I get it, getting back comfortable, the system, seeing how you feel the first 2 games, all of those things. But the Patriots are one of those teams, and I used to say this, like when I was trying to get my confidence back, you want to see him play well at some point. So, maybe this is a game he gets his confidence back to where he's like feeling like, okay, I can do some of the things that I used to do and not be hesitant, because that's what I saw in the first 2 games. So I was impressed with what I saw. Hopefully he can continue to grow. But I saw him get better for 3 straight games now. I think that's the progression.
When you talk about the opponent, Paul and Joy, as the Patriots, I think we're doing the Patriots a disservice, because if you look at them in week 1, they win against Cincinnati on the road. They have an overtime game in week 2. So maybe it's just that the Jets are a better team than the Patriots, and they're for real.
I still didn't have no expectations for Patriots, even though I'm not saying
the expectations doesn't mean anything, because we saw it with our own eyes that they beat a team that we had expectations for in Cincinnati, and they should have beat a team in Seattle that we had expectations for based on Geno Smith and what they had coming back. So I'm just saying, The Jets deserve, and Aaron Rodgers deserves a little more credit. I don't want to discredit them because we think it's the New England Patriots of a year ago.
No, I don't discredit this win at all. I think this is a great win. One, it's a division win. Two, whatever expectations we have for the Patriots going into the season, which were very, very low, I'm with Yuki. The first two games, they played well beyond their expectations.
Yeah.
They won against the Bengals, and then they took it to overtime against Seattle. So I can't just dismiss them as, oh, they,
Yeah, I
they
don't wanna
beat
do
the
that.
Patriots. It was a bad game for the Patriots, for sure.
But did they make it a bad game?
I think they
for
did,
them?
because not only did the offense look well run, looked
Yeah.
complete,
Yep.
big plays, taking advantage of moments, but the defense was really good as well. And while we're focusing on the offense, obviously, because of Aaron Rodgers, the defense has been the calling card for this team. The only thing that everyone has been able to say has been solid or consistent throughout these years of trouble. They had 7 sacks for 78 yards, 5 on Brissett and 2 on Drake Maye on one drive. They had 139 yards in total offense, did the Patriots, because of the Jets' defense.
Yes.
So I don't think that it's right to dismiss this the opponent just because they had a bad night. I think the Jets made them have a bad night.
Well, they think about this, y'all. The Patriots currently beat an 0-2 team. They lost to a 2-0 team. So what does that really say about
Well, I don't think that the Patriots
saying?
are a great team. I'm
Yeah,
just saying
no.
this isn't the Carolina Panthers.
No.
So I think no shade to the Panthers, but like I'm just saying I don't want to focus so much on if they beat a bad team and I would rather focus on how good they looked against this opponent.
Yeah.
And if they are a bad team, then they made them look like a bad team. That's what a score should look like against a bad team.
Absolutely.
So overall, I think the Jets had a total night.
Absolutely.
And they missed the field goal.
Yeah.
That was another 3 points that could have been on the board. But Aaron Rodgers, as far as Aaron Rodgers goes, for me, I'm rolling with Aaron Rodgers.
They also ran the ball well. They rushed for 133 yards. They had 400 total yards on offense, scored on 4 of their 8 drives, 10 and 15 on third down. I think this is a game that they can look to and say this is how we want to play, not just against, lower level opponents, if that's what you think the Patriots are, but week in and week out. We don't want to have mistakes. We want to be able to run the ball well, be a really balanced offense, make plays on defense. That's how they're going to win. And again, this is a division win, and that's really important. So are you, Paul, after watching this game, on the Jets bandwagon now?
No, I'm still 1 foot off. I'm on it, but I still got 1 foot off as far as do I think this team can win a Super Bowl? I think they can win their division. I'm not quite sure they're in the tier of Super Bowl teams that I have, such as the Chiefs. And I put the Saints in there now. They're looking like a team that, and the reason I don't put them up there is because when I look at the Chiefs, I saw them play bad and win. When I look at the Jets, if they don't play well, they're not going to win. So all things got to be perfect, got to hit on the right. Like Aaron Rodgers has to play like this. And if you're telling me Aaron Rodgers is going to play like this or better for the next 14 weeks, they're going to be tough to beat. I'll tell you that.
So the bandwagon question, huh?
You were like on the bus, but you were by the driver.
Look, do I think they can win the division? Yes. It's all about getting into the tournament. Okay. They got Denver Broncos next week. I'm giving them a W. They're going to be 3-1. 3 games within the conference at that point in time, right? It's 3 games that they've won within the conference. You got to look at where they're finishing at. Can they finish in the top 2 seeds in the conference to make a strong push to get to the Super Bowl? I believe they can. From what I saw, from week 1 to week 3, they've gotten better in all phases of the game. I can see where Aaron Rodgers has gotten more comfortable. I can see where the receivers are getting comfortable and going to get even more comfortable over time. So, I'm standing right there with the driver on the bus still. We chopping it up. I haven't sat down yet. The lady offered me the seat. I'm told her, don't worry about it. I'm a couple more stops.
Couple more stops?
Couple more stops.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the schedule. Where are you jumping off at?
I'm not going to jump off. I'm not going to jump off at any because if they go New England, they won that. When they Denver, they go to Minnesota. They got Buffalo, which will be a tough one.
Minnesota game is in London.
Oh, it's in London. Okay, so
drop you off in London.
So that ain't no telling what that might turn out to be. Yeah, that might the neutral site stuff. Then they got Buffalo. They always split with Buffalo. They just do. Unlike the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
The Jets, for whatever reason, splits with them. Then they go to Pittsburgh, New England, Texans, Arizona.
I think by the time they
Like,
get
their
to Texas,
schedule's not tough.
after they get out of Texas, I'm gonna jump off because I'm gonna feel like it's gonna. I think it's gonna be like
schedule's not- they don't have-
it might be a nail in the tire.
You have to check and see what the train says on the side. Is this the train that's taking you to the Super Bowl? I'm not getting on that one. Am I willing to get on the train that the Jets go to the playoffs? Sure.
All right, I'll jump on that one.
If we're talking about right now what the division looks like, before the season started, I was on the bandwagon of it's going to be between the Dolphins and the
Buffalo,
Bills,
yeah.
and the Jets will, of course, be able to compete for a playoff spot.
Now that's changed.
Obviously, the Dolphins season is essentially over. So it's going to come down to the Jets and the Bills. We don't know what the Patriots are, but I think they're going to be there towards the end, but we don't really think that they're a playoff team this year. I think it's going to come down to the Jets and the Bills. How they finish the season will determine, obviously, who wins the division, but I think they're both playoff teams. Now, what happens when you get into the playoffs, who knows? But a Super Bowl, I still feel like, is a big jump for this team as a whole. But it's really still too early to tell all around.
I don't think it's so early, but I don't think it's a big jump. Because if you get into the playoffs and you get a home game, all bets are off. At that point, really the only juggernaut that we like
to throw the Super Bowl around like just.
But that's what they paid him. But that's what they paid him for. They didn't pay him to go to the playoffs.
Yeah,
Why
but
not?
expectations and reality are two different things. What they expect is to go to the Super Bowl, correct? And they should, because they paid him a bunch of money, because it's Aaron Rodgers, who's a 4-time MVP and a Super Bowl champion and a legend and a walk-in Hall of Famer. They expect that, and then they have a defense and they have all these pieces. They expect that. I am not talking about expectations.
But who scares you in the AFC? When you really honestly take a step back, outside the Chiefs, I mean, it's the Chiefs. Everybody knows that the Chiefs is where you got to kind of go through. You got to go through Kansas City. Outside of going through Kansas City.
But to go through Kansas City.
But who scares you to get to Kansas City?
Okay, but we're not talking about the AFC Championship game. We're talking about the Super Bowl.
But if I get to Kansas City.
You're going to lose.
I don't know that, though.
Okay, well, I'm saying you're going to lose.
Well, because you don't want the Jets to win the Super Bowl.
No, it's not even about wanting the Jets to win the Super Bowl. It don't matter what I want. I'm saying that if you're asking me who scares me in the AFC is going to keep you from going to the Super Bowl, it's the Chiefs.
Yeah, but we got to get to the Chiefs. Once we get to the Chiefs, it don't matter. Now we on the same dance floor. And who's to say that the Chiefs' draw is somebody that pops them, and we don't even have to worry about getting to the Chiefs. Who's to say that?
I just saw the Chiefs going to roll for 3 straight road games.
Get all of that.
I'm not putting the Jets on the Chiefs level.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying
this is why being
level.
on the bandwagon is dangerous, because you start to get comfortable on the ride, and you're just the rest of us are like.
Reason I'm holding on to the pole and I'm talking to him because I am getting comfortable because what I saw last night.
They looked great last night.
Everything just looks clean.
They looked great.
It's hard for me to give them a measuring stick versus the Patriots right now.
I'm going to measure them against the Patriots because of how the Patriots looked
played well in the first couple of weeks.
The first 2 weeks, and it's a divisional game.
I mean, they don't have nothing that resembles
to a bad team what they supposed to do.
They have nothing that resembled a decent offense to me last night.
But is that because of us?
But I'm saying now, all of a sudden, the Jets played defense this week.
Well, they've been playing. They've always played defense.
I don't know that. This is what I'm saying. I don't know that we need to jump to the Jets beat the Patriots on Thursday Night Football at home in the home opener and looked great in it. So now they're ready to compete against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I don't know if we need to make that leap. But I do think today, if you're a Jets fan, well, forget it. Jets fans can say whatever they want. I am going to say that I'm not ready to make that leap, but they should feel great. They look great. They're trending in the right direction. They've gotten better every single week. Aaron Rodgers looks mobile for Aaron Rodgers standards, which is great. He moved around great. Yeah. He had speed. He made great decisions. The offense is starting to click. They ran the ball well. The defense made things difficult on the Patriots. Which is part of the reason why the game looked the way that it did. So they should feel great today.
And in that locker room, and maybe not even locker room, in the building, what the coaches are talking to one another about is saying there's nobody in the conference that scares us. That's what they're saying. There's nobody in the conference that scares us.
I hope they're not saying that.
Absolutely, 100. Because you can look at it and tell, Joey. I can look at the conference right now. Nobody in the conference look like that.
I'm trying to say nice things. Why? What do you mean?
There's nobody that look like.
Look like what?
Like they just so unstoppable that you don't have a shot and a chance. There's not anybody in the conference.
I don't think they can beat the Bengals.
I don't know about the Bengals. Does Patrick Mahomes still exist?
Yeah, but you look. Do the Kansas City Chiefs look even though they're undefeated? Do they look like they can't be beat.
During the regular season and the postseason.
It doesn't matter. You got to go through the regular season to get to the postseason.
They looked like they weren't going to be able to do bleep. And they won the Super Bowl last year.
That's fine against, they won the Super Bowl against a team in San Francisco that they got their number, and they beat a team in Baltimore that decided that they wasn't coming to the party.
That's why we can't have nice things. They had a nice win, okay, against a divisional opponent. Aaron Rodgers looked solid. He looked back.
No, y'all need to stop.
And now all of a sudden, we fear no one.
Right.
Bring us everyone. What? This is calm down.
Super Bowl.
We just gotta calm. Just take a breath.
That's Miami Dolphins.
That's that New York stuff.
No, I'm just saying. We just haven't. We didn't get through.
Neither one of y'all are listening.
I am listening. I heard you.
I'm not overly excited because they beat the Patriots.
Okay,
I like what I saw.
Let me ask you about this, though, before we move on to the Patriots. The offensive line, Aaron Rodgers was sacked twice, pressured 13 times, and Moses is not going to have surgery, which is great news, but he might be out for a couple weeks. I am a little concerned about the offensive line. I think they may make some adjustments to protect Aaron Rodgers, but that was the one note from last night that I was like, they could still maybe use a couple weeks to really get solid, and then that injury did make me a little nervous.
Literally can go through this next week of statistics, film, all that, and find many quarterbacks will be sacked and pressured.
Sure.
So I don't want to
Many quarterbacks didn't earn 40 coming off of an Achilles injury.
Yeah, but if you worried about him getting hurt because of the Achilles, he didn't get hurt because he decided that, oh my God, I'm running. He got hurt because he got twisted up. And now if you look at them the way they want to protect him, all they got to do is go back and look at the film. Line protections will be different. If they're missing the guy on the right side, they'll just slide to protection to be able to cover that up. He's smart enough to know how to get out of harm's way. I'm not worried about it at all. Not one bit, Joey.
Okay.
I'm not worried about it. There's so many quarterbacks going to be sacked and
we're not talking about other quarterbacks, though. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers.
But he's...
And I might say I'm worried about their offensive line,
even if he had a fully healthy Achilles on both of them, and he was going to get sacked anyway. Quarterbacks get sacked.
Quarterbacks get sacked, yes, and they get pressured, yes. I'm just saying, watching the offensive line and then dealing with that injury might be something to pay attention to moving forward. I don't think that the sky is falling. And Keyshawn thinks that they're winning the Super Bowl and they're going to City.
You listen to her, she going to sell. She good now. She sell ice to Eskimo. She good.
I mean, he's saying they can go to the Super Bowl. That's what I heard.
He said, fear no one, Jets. Fear no one. Drake Maye made his regular season debut in the fourth quarter last night. But today, Drake Maye said Jacoby Brissett would remain the starter. Keyshawn, Jacoby had a rough night last night. 12 of 18, 98 passing yards, sacked 5 times. Should New England start Drake Maye over Jacoby Brissett?
No, not till they're mathematically eliminated. Then you start to look at that and go, okay, maybe we're out of it. Let's turn to Drake Maye. One of the main reasons is if you decide that you're gonna switch to Drake Maye, now you playing games again. Now you're like, oh, I'm going back to Brissett because it doesn't look good, and you run the risk of not letting him learn. The reason Brissett is there is to be the piñata, to be the guy that you just saw sack 5 times and get beat up. That's what we're paying you millions of dollars just to get beat up because Drake Maye is our future, and we know that. But we're not ready to insert him into the lineup yet. This is what I hate with young quarterbacks. Just because they're drafted at a certain level, you don't have to insert them into the starting lineup. And that was very evident because they didn't remove him in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter. They removed him with 4 minutes or so left in the game.
Yeah.
That's when they said, hey, come over here, because we can't afford to get you hurt, because if you get hurt, we're going to have to automatically go to Drake Maye, and we don't want Drake Maye, we don't want that. Right. We don't want that for him. We want him to learn and then become the quarterback of the New England Patriots. So I have no problem with it.
What do you think, Bob?
No, I don't think, not yet. I think he needs to go through the natural progression that we saw Aaron Rodgers go through, Tom Brady, where they sat and learned for a few years before even Jordan Love. These guys, it's a progression when you want to get to a level of excellence because we look at the rookie quarterbacks now, they're struggling. All of them. Not one of them has a touchdown. I think they all combined have about 6 or 7 interceptions. And because they're thrown into the fire. So I think it's best for him to just learn as we go. And I don't mind putting him in spot minutes like they did last night to where the game was out of reach. And like he said, you know, when they're mathematically out, maybe you throw them in there about week 10, 11, you know.
Well, it might be sooner than that,
Might be sooner.
depending on which way we go.
Yeah, which way things go. So I think you just slow his progression now because you take the pressure off of him. Because right now, we ridiculing all these young quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams. You know, we watching them struggle, and it's like, you know, what's going on with them?
He was 4'8", 22 yards and sacked twice. 3 timeouts with 30 seconds to go. They didn't use any, and they just wanted to get out of there.
Yeah,
that just tells you we didn't want to even put him in harm's way. We just want to get out of here.
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. They should stick with Jacoby. I know that was a little jarring for Patriots fans after watching how week 1 and week 2 went, and then you start to believe, start to get kind of excited. All right, we're not as bad as everyone thought we were, as we thought we were. We have a chance. Okay, now he looks bad. Let's go to Drake Maye. The defense was bad last night too. So you've got lots of problems, lots of things to fix before you get to the quarterback. And Drake Maye is not going to fix those problems. Like, that's not what's going to come in and happen. So you're likely going to put him in a bad situation. Just be patient. I don't think there's anything to get excited about. The issue that you mentioned, though, is the thing that's kind of scary, is that if Jacoby does keep taking these kind of hits and having these kind of games, you may have no choice but to go to him, which would be a different situation than switching to Drake Maye as the starter. Because then you don't have a choice. So maybe if you're going back and forth in that way, it's not the same thing.
Want that choice, though.
Of course you don't want that. Nobody wants that choice.
It's too early to put him in.
Nobody wants that choice. But I'm saying that is a different conversation than saying we're benching Jacoby for Drake Maye. Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.